Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm going to my garden right now to go check up on my tomatoes because if you're like me, I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for my tomatoes to ripen and it hasn't ripened yet, and I'm wondering, if it's ever going to ripen. In previous seasons, I found myself frantically going to the garden to pick up all my tomatoes because they've just announced the first frost. So this time I want to do better. I want to make sure that I have few less tomatoes at the end of the season. So there are a few tricks that I have used to make sure that I get at least 95% of my tomatoes ripened. I just have to worry about the 5% that's remaining. So I just want to share that with you, share that trick with you, so if you're having the same issue, you can help your tomatoes get ripe faster instead of just waiting and waiting and waiting. So come with me to the garden. Let's go talk about it. Ripening is triggered by a chemical called ethylene. When tomatoes reach their proper green mature stage, it starts to produce ethylene. The ethylene causes the tomatoes to start ripening. Ripening on the vine takes a while. But for commercial people, they don't have that time. They just pick up the matured hard green tomatoes, they load them up in the truck and take them to the warehouse, close all the doors, and then gas the tomatoes with ethylene, thereby forcing them to ripen. So why are my tomatoes not ripening? Temperature is a huge factor in that. You can say is the number one reason why the tomatoes won't ripen. The optimal ripening temperature for tomato is 70 to 75 degrees or 21 to 23 degrees Celsius. More than that, the ripening process is significantly slowed or it can even stop. For example, it's been very hot out here. It's been in the high 90s and we have a couple of few days below 80s. There are two quick things you can do right now to help your tomatoes ripen faster. Weather you can't control, but there are a few things you can do, and that is you have to prune, number one, and then number two is you have to prune. Yeah, I said pruning twice because that's what's going to help you to get your tomato ripen quicker so you don't end up with a lot of green tomatoes at the end of the season. So first, you want to prune the tomato plants. As you can see, I still have some leaves on these, and I know I still have some pruning to do. At this point, there's still too much leaves on my tomato plants, so I'm going to prune them. So if you cut back the leaves, instead of the plant using its energy to develop this nice looking green tomato leaves that you probably don't need except if you eat tomato leaves, then you want to cut that out. You reduce the foliage so that the energy in the plant will be directed to to developing the fruits, maturing the fruits, and then ripening the fruit. The other pruning that you need to do is to prune the suckers. So if you have your tomato plants and you've been pruning the suckers, then that is good. Some people don't prune their suckers. I prefer to leave maybe one or two suckers on my plants, but nothing more. But when it comes to pruning suckers, you don't just prune one time and say, oh, I've pruned the suckers. They keep coming back and coming back because they are relentless. This is a plant I've pruned. I've pruned all the leaves from the bottom, and you can see that there's still some suckers trying to come up, and there's another one right there. So I need to take this off and I need to take that off. I come into the garden from time to time to clean up the plant. I call it cleaning it up because you find these little suckers that are coming up all over the place. So you want to pinch that out, and then you want to pinch that out. I don't need that. I don't need to develop any more shoots. I need the fruits on this plant to develop and ripen. I need the fruits on this plant to develop and ripen. This is a sucker right here. I'm just going to pinch that off. So you can get them at the top, you can get them from the bottom, you can get them anywhere at the junction between the main stem and the leaf branch. This fruit set has a tiny tomato at the back of it. I'm just going to go to the other side. So another thing you can do is to prune the tomato fruit. Yeah, you prune the fruit. As you can see on this fruit set, everything is developed at the same rate. It's developing at the same rate, but you have this little one right here that needs to be developed. And as I said before, it's all about distribution of energy on the plant. So as you know, it takes 6 to 8 weeks from the time that this fruit is pollinated to when it gets mature, and then it gets mature before it starts to ripen. It's probably going to take more than that. So before you pull that, you have to consider, do you have 6 to 8 weeks? It depends on your growing region. For me, 6 to 8 weeks is going to be cutting it close, so I have to take this one out. When I take this off, instead of the plant using its energy to try and develop this little fruit, it's going to concentrate on the existing fruits, mature them, and then ripen them. So I'm going to take this off. So those are the few tricks I've used. Just prune your tomatoes. If you haven't pruned it, prune the tomato plants. After all, you want to grow tomatoes, not leaves. So if you have these bushy tomato plants, prune them. And then prune the suckers because you don't need the plant using up all that energy to develop that sucker, and then before it gets to fruits, before it gets to maturity and then ripen. And then the other one is you want to prune the fruits. Yes, I know it's hard to do, but like I said, you have to consider if you have a long growing season, then maybe you can leave it, but if you have a short growing season like mine, then you want to take that off. At least make sure that the existing fruits ripen, get mature and ripen. So that's it for now. Until next time, keep planting, keep learning, and keep growing, and I'll see you.